Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and today's shout out goes to the mic. The mic was first to say first in one of my recent videos, and thus wins this shout out, so congratulations. Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and I have a review of a neat new drone. This is the BetaFPV Cetus FPV racing kit for beginners. Now, before I go into this, there's been a lot of hype about this before being released here. But the way I'm going to do this particular review is that I'm going to do it in two parts. I'm going to do an unboxing and a discussion about the drone. And then in part two, we'll actually go and fly it. This is, again, the part one unboxing. I rarely do unboxings, but for this one I think it deserves an unboxing. And we'll go into detail about the different components in this kit. But first off, we get a very nice carrying case with the BetaFPV Cetus. Feels good, feels firm, but let's open it up and let's see what's inside here. Unzipping, and it opens like as such. Now, the way this is set up is we have the goggles, the controller on the right side, and on the left side we have the drone and all the accessories. And each of these is held in place quite nicely by these Velcro straps to hold each component in its particular place, along with the drone and all the accessories that are held by Velcro. But let's talk about what you get first. First you get these VR02 goggles. Now, I've already reviewed these previously. I do like these particular goggles in that they're 48 channels of with auto scan capability, rapid auto scan capability. It weighs 300 grams, relatively lightweight goggles with a 4.3-inch LCD screen at 800 by 480 pixel resolution. Now, the special thing about this particular goggles is the way the screen is built. The screen is built into the top surface, the top back portion of the goggles here, and it has a periscopic mirror that bounces the view downward, outward, and then back to your eyes. And what that does is increases the focal length from your eyes to the screen by like about that much. And that helps people like me with older eyes to more easily focus on a screen with such a short length here. If I tried to focus, in that amount of distance, it would be impossible. But again, using the periscopic lens, that increases that focal length out of a larger distance to help older folks with bad eyes. Okay. Again, I also mentioned this has a 14 dBi antenna. I think I mentioned it. These goggles, the VR02 goggles, have very good reception for beginner goggles. I actually like these. And I do use them, to fly around my neighborhood here, because I can actually fly around rooms within the house or even outdoors, flying them out the door and around the house, and still maintain reception with these goggles. So I am impressed with these VR02s. They also have a 3.7 volt, 2000 milliampere hour battery that gives you up to 2 hours of view time with the goggles. Now, the next thing you get in the kit is the LiteRadio 2 SE with these little protective covers over the gimbals here. Actually, these gimbals are very nice field gimbals, and you get the protective cover, so to keep them feeling nice. What's special about this radio is that it uses Frsky D8 protocol, so you can actually use these with other drones that have Frsky D8 receivers. So you can use these goggles too with other drones, other FPV racer drones, and you can use this transmitter too with other drones that have Frsky D8 protocol, which are quite a bit. Now, they are 8-channel. This is an 8-channel transmitter. We have 4 channels for throttle, yaw, pitch, and roll, and we have 4 more channels for these switches here. We have two position switches, or these are 3 position switches here, and two position switches. And I'm going to go over quickly, after I talk about the drone, what these switches do. So we're going to go into that later. But in addition to, it has the nice feeling gimbals, it's rubber non-slip coating on the transmitter, so you can get a good grip on it. It does have a simulator port, along with a micro USB, actually it's Type-C USB, for both charging the controller, and you can also use this for as a simulator port to using a USB cable instead of a PPM cable to set up your simulator system. It does have an internal battery. Now, the I also reviewed a LiteRadio 2 biand protocol version. This is the SE version, and this one does not have a battery port that you put in your own battery. This has a built-in battery, 3.7 volt, 1000 milliamp hour battery, and that should give you plenty of time with one charge of this to fly the drone. So, and also you get in here the instruction manual covering the drone and how to use it on the bottom here. And it's a pretty good instruction manual, pretty detailed. I gotta say that too. Okay, let's talk about the drone. Okay, this is the Cetus drone, and what's special about this? It is special in that, you know, it's designed for beginner flyers. You can fly it in 3 different modes, which is normal. And what it's special about the normal mode is this drone actually has an optical flow sensor on the belly of it. So while in normal mode, you have normal mode is angle mode more or less, and that means self-stabilization in both pitch and roll. If you let go of the stick, this will automatically level. Plus, normal mode also has altitude hold control, so you don't have to mess around with the throttle to try to maintain the altitude. This will automatically maintain altitude. And finally, with that optical flow sensor, where is that thing? There it is there. With the optical flow sensor, it will automatically maintain hover. It shouldn't wander around. That is, if your room that you're flying this, or outdoors you're flying this, is well lit. This will use the optical sensor to look at the ground beneath the drone and automatically maintain hover of the drone, maintains its position in space, both vertically because of the altitude hold and horizontally because of the optical flow. I think that's neat for an optical flow FPV racer to have that capability for beginners. I think this is the first that I've seen that has that for, you know, a real FPV drone with 5.8 gigahertz FPV transmitter with optical flow. I think this is the first I've seen such. I could be wrong, but you know, that's pretty cool. That has it. Let's talk about other things about this particular drone. It does have 0720 motors that are plug-in motors, so if one of these fails, you can easily replace it by plugging in another one. So plug-in ports for each of these particular motors. Now, if you look very closely at the board, you do not see any micro USB port anywhere, or Type-C USB port anywhere for configuring the flight control software on the flight control board. However, you can do such because let me show you what you get in this kit here of accessories. In this particular package here, if we open it up, there's a little adapter. It's a Type-C adapter for Type-C USB cables. Let me get it out of here. It also has a spare set of propellers for the drone, but in that same package for the spare propellers is this little Type-C adapter that you see here. And the way that this works is it has these very tiny, and it's not focusing, but it has these very, very tiny pins that actually plug in. And I'm looking real hard with my old eyes here. There it is. There's a little black knob right there with a bunch of pinholes that this plugs into, so that, let me see if I can do it well. Yeah, there you go. So that you can plug this in to your computer to adjust the flight control software on here. So I think that's neat in itself that you can still do that. But it would have been nice to actually have this built in. But that makes it a little bit lighter for this particular drone. Now, the thing about this drone is, again, it's meant for beginner flyers, and it has 3 modes of flight. I mentioned the first one there, which was normal mode, using the optical flow sensor and altitude hold. It has another mode here that's intermediate mode. Actually, I wrote it down somewhere. I'm trying to look where I wrote it down, but I forgot where I wrote it down. But there is a second mode. Here, I got it on the transmitter. Sport mode. Okay. Sport mode. All sport mode does is turns off the optical flow and turns off the altitude hold. However, it is still angle mode, technically angle mode, in that it is self-stabilized for pitch and roll. So if you let go of the stick, it would automatically level itself when you are in sport mode. And finally, there is a manual mode that you adjust. You throw the switch here. I'll talk about these switches again shortly. But when you go to manual mode, that turns off optical flow. that turns off altitude hold, and additionally it turns off those angle restrictions and self-stabilization. So in effect, manual mode is acro mode, and with acro mode you can do all those flips and rolls that you see lots of people do with FPV racers. You can do it with such, but again, that requires a lot of skill. Okay, that's not for beginner pilots to go right into acro. I recommend starting in your normal mode there and work your way up to acro slowly. It'll take time. Okay, that is the Cetus drone that comes with this particular kit. And finally, let's go over what you get again in the auxiliary box here, the accessory box. You get that pin adapter that I mentioned. You get a spare set of propellers. You get, for the goggles, you get the straps to hold the goggles onto your face. You get, mine came with two 300 milliamp hour batteries. Again, the Cetus is powered by these 300 milliamp hour batteries using the BetaFPV, I think Beta 2 connector. It's a special connector, and what's special about it is this allows higher amperage to come through the battery and go to the motors without overheating, and that provides much more power from the battery than the PH 2.0 connector that you see in other batteries, similar style batteries. So that's an advantage of that particular battery. You get a prop puller for removing the propellers and changing propellers. You get a USB-C cable for both charging the controller and charging the batteries through this battery battery charger here. And also you get a guide or code to go on BetaFPV site and follow us on BetaFPV and go into their knowledge base too. Now, before we go fly this, before we go into part 2 here, let me go over the controller in a little more detail on these switches here. On the top here, we have switch A, switch B, switch C, and switch D. On switch A, to arm the drone, you just bring this switch A toward your, or up, or toward your position, and that will arm the drone. On switch B, this is your mode switch. All the way down or forward is normal mode with optical flow and altitude hold. Center position is sport mode, which is again is just angle mode without altitude hold or optical flow on. Okay, but it's still stabilized. And finally, all the way forward or toward you, up or toward you, is manual mode, or also known as acro mode, which enables the drone to do flips and rolls. And this particular switch here is rates. So low, medium, and high, or beginner, intermediate, expert rates. And what this does is, especially in sport mode and normal mode, increases the pitch angle on the drone so you can fly faster. So slowest is all the way down, faster is center position and fastest you could go, and the most zippy is all the way up. So again, for beginners you want to be all the way down, and for beginners you want this switch all the way down also. And finally, this particular switch here on the right, switch D, is for changing video transmitter frequencies on the drone. Whatever frequency the transmitter is transmitting on, you can have it automatically switch to a different frequency if there's interference by flipping this up one time. And each time you do this, we'll change the channel incrementally up or down one frequency. And all you need to do is hit this quick scan button again on the goggles, and the goggles will automatically link into the new transmitter frequency. So that is the BetaFPV Cetus kit. Let me put everything back in view again. Pretty neat kit for beginner flyers, I think. Especially that particular drone with its altitude hold and optical flow capability. That's the first, again, true FPV racer, FPV whoop, with optical flow capability. So let's take this down in the basement for part 2, which I'm going to release a couple days or a few days after this particular review. This is just the intro review, but I hope you enjoy the second part of this review. So this is Quadcopter 101, signing out. Hi, Quadcopter 101 here again. Hey, if you want to get your own shout out in one of my future videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It's real simple. Just go to my channel page and click on that subscribe. And also make sure to click that bell button right next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified when I release a brand new video immediately and give you a chance to get that first shout out. So give it a try, folks.